They said President Trump could not do it. Israel basically wanted to start a war with Iran by bombing the nuclear sites with, of course, the backing of Big Brother, the United States. The neocons pushed very, very hard for this plan, which would have sucked us into another one of these endless wars. Mike Waltz was basically fired over this because he was communicating secretly with Benjamin Netanyahu, and President Trump did not like this. But now, this is brand new, and this is huge news. Top Iranian official says Tehran would forego highly enriched uranium in nuclear deal with Trump. Now, this is not yet complete. This is just in the preliminary stage, but this is a very good sign that the plan is working just as it's supposed to. Iran is ready to sign a nuclear deal with certain conditions with President Donald Trump in exchange for lifting economic sanctions. So this is the condition right here. They want economic sanctions lifted. A top advisor to Iran's supreme leader told NBC News today, which is Wednesday. Ali Shamkhani, a top political, military, and nuclear advisor to Iranian supreme leader Ayatollah Ali, is one of the most senior Iranian officials to speak publicly about the ongoing discussions. He said Iran would commit to never making nuclear weapons, getting rid of its stockpiles of highly enriched uranium, which could be weaponized, agree only to enrich uranium to the lower levels needed for civilian use, and allow international inspectors to supervise the process in exchange for the immediate lifting of all economic sanctions on Iran. So that does sound like a pretty big ask. I don't know every single one of the sanctions on Iran, but this is a very good sign. Asked if Iran would agree to sign an agreement today if those conditions were met, Shamkhani said yes. Quote, yes. His comments appear to be the clearest public statement yet on Iran's expectations and willingness to reach a deal from the supreme leader's inner circle. Iran's supreme leader has the final say on all matters of national security. Quote, it's still possible if the Americans act as they say, for sure, we can have better relation, Shamkhani said. Quote, it can lead to a better situation in the near future. Shamkhani sat down with NBC News just hours after Trump offered Iran an olive branch that was combined with threats, crippling economic sanctions should Iran not accept an agreement to limit the country's nuclear program. Shamkhani expressed frustration at Trump's tone and continued threats. Quote, he talks about the olive branch, which we have not seen. It's all barbed wire. Trump has repeatedly said Iran cannot be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon. While Iran has always denied that it is seeking to do so, the International Atomic Energy Agency, the UN's nuclear watchdog, says that it has enriched enough uranium to weapons-grade quality to make 6 nuclear bombs. And this is something that, of course, Israel does not want first and foremost. Of course, the United States does not want this at all either, but for sure Israel. And that's a big sticking point for them if you follow the news. The U.S. and Iran have been holding talks over Tehran's nuclear program for weeks, which Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff calling the last round in Muscat, the capital of Oman, quote, encouraging. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, why are these names so hard to say? Meanwhile, called the negotiations, quote, difficult but useful, quote, enrichment is an issue that Iran will not give up, and there is no room for compromise on it, he said. However, its dimensions, levels, or amounts might change for a period to allow confidence building. In Wednesday's interview, Shamkhani expressed concern that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, often known by the nickname Bibi, could try to derail the process through back-channel lobbying in Washington. So this is something that, of course, Mike Waltz was involved in. I mean, this is almost certainly why he was demoted or fired from his position as national security advisor, because he was a back channel that Benjamin Netanyahu was lobbying. And of course, that's probably something that Donald Trump does not like that much, to have someone go behind his back and try to, make some moves, be a mover and shaker, and go against what he is trying to do. He continues, quote, if the Americans remove the Bibi effect, they can easily sign the deal. There are signs, however, that Trump may be distancing himself from Netanyahu. NBC News previously reported, according to 2 U.S. officials, 2 Middle Eastern diplomats, and 2 other people with knowledge of the tensions, the 2 leaders are increasingly at odds over a strategy tackling challenges in the region, including Iran. So I believe Donald Trump has felt a little bit disrespected by Benjamin Netanyahu because Netanyahu is not really playing ball with the United States and what they're trying to accomplish in the region without pulling the United States into a war. Of course, Netanyahu just wants to bomb and get it over with. And President Trump, his administration, or at least some of his administration, says, no, maybe we should talk to them. You know, maybe instead of dropping bombs, which could bring us into a war, we should talk to them. I mean, I know it would be good for the military-industrial complex to get all this money, which, of course, they are just champing at the bit for this to happen. But the American people, they're a little more frugal with their money, you know. And then, of course, you got to think of the lives. And there's a lot of other things you got to think of. Why would we want to be sucked into a new war? Another possibly Iraq type situation. While Netanyahu has supported military action against Iran's nuclear facilities, Trump has begun to see an opportunity to remove the threat of Iran acquiring a nuclear weapon by making a deal with the government, the sources say. So this is very encouraging news. I don't think any of us want another war. I mean, we've been basically supporting Ukraine for several years, hundreds of billions of dollars going to Ukraine. I mean, these are tax dollars that could be spent in our own country to make our own country better, more beautiful. Yet it seems like the military-industrial complex always wins. And I'm starting to see signs that is making me very optimistic that maybe this time they won't. I'm not yet completely convinced because I know there are forces within the Trump administration that are really pushing for this conflict with Iran. But, you know, you can never give up hope because when you do, that's when everything just goes bad. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think of Iran possibly reaching a deal with President Trump? Do you think this is going to happen? Or do you think it's a lost cause and the military-industrial complex will win again? They're going to find something. Of course, they have Benjamin Netanyahu on their side attempting to mess things up because this is what they want. Because, I mean, obviously, Iran says they will never develop a nuclear weapon if they reach this sort of deal with the United States. But what does that even mean? Is a country actually going to stick to that? Because, you know, decades from now, you don't know what happens. A lot of stuff changes. There's a lot of gears moving. And I don't think a country can actually make a promise like that and actually keep it because it depends on a lot of things. And Israel sees that. They don't like it. But what do you think? Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Like and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. But until then, I will see you on the next one.